Hi everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies. And it's an interesting time for the movies, and both in how exciting the movies themselves feel, but also how fraught and perilous the industry feels currently, and a lot of the time, most times. But that doesn't stop us from feeling excited about what the movies are, the movies that are coming out, and one movie that's coming out at the end of this month is what is likely and presumably very likely the final entry in what is my favorite franchise of all time, the Mission Impossible series. This is come May 23rd, it will be the release of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And what better way to celebrate that than with a month-long whole retrospective of the series entire. And I'm so excited. And I got my trusty whole 6-movie set. I'm a little annoyed that I have this because literally like a month after I bought this thing, McQuarrie and Cruz announced they were making 2 more, rendering this immediately obsolete. I mean, yes, I will happily buy the franchise again, but it's the principle that matters, damn it. But regardless. So long before we got into where we are now, it all began with Mission Impossible, released in 1996, which if some of you youngsters weren't aware of, this was actually originally a television spy series, which ran back in the mid to late 60s. And because in the 90s there was in a similar way that there was a lot of sort of a series remakes in the of 80s and 90s and 2000s movies, and a couple 2010s now coming up. There were a lot of movies based on TV shows back a couple of years back that came out in the 90s. Some successful like The Addams Family and Mission Impossible, but also unsuccessful ones like a Flintstones movie and was there a Leave It to Beaver? No. But anyway, here we have Mission Impossible, the first one, just plain old Mission Impossible. It is interesting, and this was basically the baby child of both Tom Cruise and his producing partner at the time, who was producing movies with him for close to 30 years, Paula Wagner. And the two of them really championed this idea, and eventually they got a screenplay off the ground. Well, there were story works by the studio at the time, but this was the screenplay credits eventually went to two really accomplished names, David Koepp and Robert Towne, which is just an insane meeting of the minds, because you have Koepp, one of the most accomplished and really successful blockbuster screenwriters possibly of all time. He wrote the original Jurassic Park. He wrote the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. And Robert Towne, he wrote Chinatown. Putting these two together is just a crazy. It's just like a crazy collaboration. And on top of all of that, this was given the directing reins to Brian De Palma, one of the absolutely beloved and austere and controversial film directors to come out of the movie brat era in the 70s, along with the likes of Scorsese and Spielberg. But De Palma, he was very famous and again controversial for his love of suspense thrillers and Hitchcockian flair. He had as much fascination with voyeurism as he did with the concept of voyeurism as he at the same time was constantly playing voyeur. He is one of cinema's most esteemed and accomplished perverts, but he's a romantic pervert. But all of that perversion is really stretched back, because this is honestly one of his biggest and most successful roamings into the pop blockbuster era. And it's so great, and it's honestly crazy to see that this is a movie where everything else that came out, see, it's a thing where like coming back to this, even after every other movie has just gone higher and higher, to see a movie that's so small and intimate and fearful at this and paranoid at the same time, that this is where all of that spawned from, is so fascinating. Especially so much of the first act of this movie relies so heavily on what the audience is shown from what character's perspective and what they do and don't know, and finding such a thrill in discovery of when they unspool that thread of deception. It's like close-up magic, a thing that Ethan Hunt knows a lot about. But again, that's all Brian De Palma. He was just, again, having a blast using all of his tricks of the trade. He shoot with this kind of budget. He shoots with wide anamorphic frames and ghostly Steadicam shots to bring to life these incredible point of view tracking shots that he's so great at. There are so many canted angles and traveling glances that are right out of early British era Hitchcock and film noir. His split diopter shots. Oh my God, his split diopter shots. Nobody does those nobody does those like him. And even the opening shot of this entire franchise is a man watching a movie on a TV screen, which turns out to be a security monitor watching Ethan Hunt in disguise do some spy shit, dressed as somebody else, and he has the now iconic rubber mask pull reveal, and that room turns out to be a set where everything in it but the guy who they were trying to get a name from was a lie. And oh my God, that's so, it's so Brian De Palma. It's so good. But to really recenter ourselves, we're then introduced to Jim Phelps, played by Jon Voight, who on the show was actually effectively the lead character. I'm only passingly familiar with the original series myself, but it's kind of crazy that you have a Jim Phelps in the first movie, and then he's like replaced by like some other guy, replaced by some other new guy. It's like doing it. The only comparison I can have is like playing Metal Gear Solid 2, but you haven't played the first one. You only heard about the first one or something. And he's debriefed on an airplane that he and his team are assigned to stop a theft of the CIA's knock list. It is just a list of all undercover agents in Europe. But this scene is just so funny to me because Jon Voight, he lights a cigarette on a plane to cover the smoke from the tiny explosion that happens in his lap. Pre 9/11, the pre 9/11 era is just a parallel universe to where we are now, and I miss it. I don't know. He briefs his team, which chief among them include both his wife Claire and Ethan Hunt, who was who was kind of sort of like the father figure, not really, but also, well, he's the mentor figure too. And they go in disguise to try to stop the halt sale of the knock list and catch both the traitorous spy and the buyer he's selling to. And one detail I really like is that Ethan Hunt is disguised as this Virginia senator, John Walzer, and there's a brief video where you watch Walzer have this debate about democracy and important things and stuff, but you can see in that footage that that's clearly Tom Cruise in old man makeup using a southern drawl. Oh, it's detail. I don't think the newer movies would quite have that kind of specificity of the details. But unfortunately, the mission goes tits up pretty hard, and one by one, everyone is killed on the mission, with Ethan being the sole survivor. And in like a meta sense, this would be like really the impetus of Hunt's dogged determination to safeguard his team at all costs in the series going forward. Really showing that he can't, not only that are his friends, the life of his friends worth saving, but he also can't experience a night like this ever again. And man, like that shot, this shot of Tom in this phone booth booth. This tight close-up of him trying to get focused, but he is clearly panicked and clearly like on edge, and like looking over his shoulder. Look, you can really see the fear and trauma just settling in behind his eyes, and it's nice. But from there he gets with one of my favorites of the series. It is we have Henry Czerny playing Eugene Kittredge, who is just he's just like he's just like a higher up agent at the CIA. But oh man, like Czerny's delivery is so deliciously pulp. This is an actor who is making a 3-course meal out of every line he says. Is whether it's him just sort of like feigning ignorance about about catching some detail that Hunt was saying, or like directly confronting and accusing Hunt of being a double agent and a mole in the IMF. I see in these like great tight close-up frames. Oh my God! The confrontation in this scene between Hunt and Kittredge is just so deliciously tense. This is a moment where that's like really playing up the pulpiness of the espionage genre, and to such delicious effect. And it ends with him using a little gadget, which is this exploding chewing gum, where he squeezes both ends. He tosses at the aquarium tank, and the whole thing explodes. Absolute beautiful explosion. Guy goes flying through the window. All of this water comes crashing down like a waterfall, and Cruise is just the glorious slow-mo shots of the water crashing over everyone, and Cruise just leaping out and just straight booking it across the road. Oh, it's a glorious highlight of the movie. But from there, like Hunt is like really really like settling into like trying to gather all of his bearings, and the original plan was like, oh, if you're bored, you go back to the safe house at 4 a.m. But like, where do we go? Well, like, no one else is here. What do I do? And so he spends a whole night emailing any potential contact to this arms dealer that he's been accused of being in contact with, Max, who it turns out to be Vanessa Redgrave, and also turns out that Claire is alive, and she's shaken and horrified that both her husband Jim is dead, but everyone else is dead. But like and she rides strong with Hunt when he goes to meet Max with Job 314. And strikes it, and she takes a shine to him because she just kind of likes what a paradox he is, and they strike a deal, $10 million for the real full knock list, and so he gets her the knock list. She'll give him Job, the guy who set them up. That brings us to the centerpiece of the film, and really still truly the most iconic piece out of this entire franchise, and really I think still maybe its most enduring some of its most enduring imagery, despite the strives and all of the highs it hits in the later the Langley heist. So they recruit Krieger, played by Jean Reno, fresh off of Leon the Professional. And the debut of the beloved favorite Luther Stickle, played by a fresh as hell Ving Rhames, also fresh off of Pulp Fiction. And he is the big guy in the chair who can hack into anything. He has the tech and he has the meats. So the heist is set up to be the most ludicrously insurmountable feat possible. Like it's state of the and like Tom just sets this whole thing up perfectly, and just like you feel like the hunger of like, oh man, we're gonna do something insane. Are you in for it, boys? They're gonna be going up against a state-of-the-art sound system sensitive to anything above a whisper. You can't speak at all. There's temperature-regulated sensors. There's pressure-sensitive floors, so sensitive that even a drop of sweat will doom the entire thing. It is the Mount Everest of heists. You cannot sneak in, and yet they will. And I have to believe that this heist, at least in part, and especially the execution of it, was inspired by this absolutely amazing French heist movie called Rafifi back in like '55, I think. It's somewhere up there. It was actually no. Yeah, it's somewhere up there. It was released on Criterion a while ago. Fantastic movie, unbelievably great heist sequence, and because like this Langley heist one, the entire thing is set in basically zero dialogue, in just this achingly tense just nail biting silence, like nothing. They can't make any noise above a whisper, and when the and oh my god, the filmmaking in this scene is so elegant, so simple, so clean, and so clear that just watching a bead of sweat roll down Cruise's glasses is such a life or death nail biter moment. You're holding your breath the entire time. Especially in that absolutely iconic moment when Krieger lets the ropes go, and Cruise drops, he's parallel, the shot. He's holding himself starfish mode, as he's trying not to touch the ground. And there was such specificity with how they were trying to accomplish this. Even rumor had it that Cruise put nickels in his shoes just to get the balance at the perfect equilibrium. And also I have to shout out the William Donlow, the character, this poor lonely tech guy that they give food poisoning just to keep him out of the room while they're doing their heisting. And I felt the need to shout him out because I'm not kidding, is actually going to show up in Final Reckoning. He has a character poster. And, I don't care if that's a certified Glup Shitto moment. That has me unbelievably excited. And it's this absolutely incredible scene. So pays off so perfectly that it almost feels like the movie feels kind of like a slow gradual exhale post that. That's peak, absolutely. But then following that, there's the ultimate reveal of betrayal that Jim is actually alive, and it has this interesting moment between Hunt and Phelps where the first time I watched this when I was 11 years old or something like that, I felt honestly confused by this because I wasn't familiar with the Palma style, and it wasn't quite clear of how of this sort of fractal editing style. So basically, in this scene, so Phelps is trying to fool Ethan into saying that Kittredge was the mole, but it turns and Hunt is verbally selling him on this. He's verbally selling Jim on oh yeah, it totally was Kittredge, and he's piecemealing how he took out each of his team members, but then it'll intercut with Ethan figuring out how he Ethan piecing together in his mind how Jim took each member out one by one, and who he may have had help with. He he had to have had help from Krieger because he had the same knife as who stabbed one of his teammates. And there's even a shot where he sees Claire set up a bomb, but he sort of changes that to Jim blowing up the car bomb because he doesn't know where Claire's loyalty lies yet. And to jump off of that, I think there is one kind of sort of undercooked moment from this movie. It is sort of the stuff that they do with Claire, because Claire feels very undersold, undercooked. Nothing's really bad. It just feels like there could be more to it. there is sort of that, there's a mild flavoring of lurid desire throughout the movie between, like Ethan sort of coveting Jim's wife Claire, but it never really. But it is sort of playing up this like noir trope of like maybe you don't know if he can or can't trust her, because who can he trust? He can only trust himself and like anybody else that he leaves in, like Luther. But it doesn't feel like it really amounts to much, and it feels a really like a real lacking element in what is honestly a really tight movie. And it's not to say that, and while I do think that Emmanuelle Bert does her best with Claire as she can, it just feels like it only goes so far. But it feels minor in a sense, but again, it's something that could have been stronger. But and I guess another thing that probably could have been stronger, or at the very least, let me rephrase that. What could have been done very differently had it been filmed today. You have the big action climax where Jim reveals himself, and then Ethan Hunt pulls the rug out from Jim and shows reveals his deception to Kittredge, and that gets us to Tom Cruise and Jon Voight hanging outside of a speeding bullet train. But it's all done with a CG and green screens and stuff. But it's all very well executed. Nothing like too big to complain about. But honestly, if this were made today, Tom Cruise would actually insist on shooting on an actual bullet train, which might not be the most insane thing he's ever done. I mean, considering how he opened the 5th movie. But it's real tense with again, the two of them just hanging off this, they're just being buffeted by this wind, and it's so loud, and you feel you feel the speed, you feel the power in the wind, and there's even a fun moment. There's even a moment that always makes me laugh, where Hunt gets you got Krieger on a helicopter coming in to try to evac Phelps out, but Hunt hooks the cable, the helicopter's cable, onto the train, and he just yells at Krieger for the train, and it cracks me up every time. But you get that great big explosion and him flying up and hitting the train, and it's such a satisfying big popcorn conclusion. And all that deception, all that great espionage, all that paranoia, just finally kind of exploding out into something that's really bombastic, something really fun. It's pretty successful at it. It flows so smoothly into that kind of climax that feels very earned, feels very. It feels smart, and it feels very. It really leaves you wanting more. So when Ethan Hunt is sitting on a plane and he's also offered a potential mission, just like Phelps did at the opening, then you really do want to see another one. And obviously they did. This was a massive hit, and we got many, half a dozen more movies out of it, and soon an 8th movie towards by the end of this month. And God damn, if I'm not hyped about it, if this man will save cinema, so help him Xenu. But I think Mission Impossible still really holds up. I do think it could have been a little stronger as far as Claire goes. Both Brian De Palma movies and the series would have much stronger female characters, I think. But as far as the series beginnings, it's absolutely very accomplished, and still really thrilling to watch. I think it's still surprisingly a highlight for De Palma's career. It's him really showing what he can do with a big mainstream budget like this, and it's good stuff. Good stuff. Always love revisiting this. I'm always surprised by how much I love the first one so much. And yeah, probably gonna leave it at that. That feels like a good place to leave it. I'll be reviewing the at least the first. I'll get through the first three by the end of the week, and from here on in, yeah, Mission Impossible forever, Tom Cruise forever, and yeah, that'll be it. I am Zach. I like movies. I like Mission Impossible, and I will see you in a few. I will see you next time, and take care.